Hello again, Will's Weekly Football Roundup, episode 6. So, on the previous week, we've had a look at the rumours going around the various different clubs in the league. So, what I'm going to do now is sort of work on a similar sort of scaling system, however, looking at the confirmed transfers for the all the teams in the league. Now, there are a couple of teams which haven't signed any players. There are a couple of teams that have signed lots of players. So the situation that they've signed lots of players, I'm going to primarily look at the big money signing, as it were, the one that, in theory, if you put the most money behind it, you're expecting to make the most impact. Cool. So here we go. First off is Arsenal. They look like they sort of signed, they did sign a sort of younger player, but the main transfer they've got over the line at this moment in time is David Raya for 27 million. Obviously, having a successful loan spell last year, it's obviously been confirmed. When I've got the distinct feeling when this comes out, or very soon after this is going to come out, Calafiori will be confirmed. But as of this moment in time, it is David Raya for 27 million. I think this is sensible. This makes sense. You know, he works within the system. He knows the players. It's a position that's sort of been sort of locked down. This is a yay from me. Moving on to the next signing, we've got Aston Villa, which their big money signing at the moment is Ian Maatsen from Chelsea for 37.5 million. It seems like quite a bit of money, although I suppose the market's ever sort of changing for players in the Premier League to be more expensive. I think he's sort of quite a young player. He's also a player I never fully understood why he didn't get any time within the actual main Chelsea team. Maybe down to the differences with the manager or different tactical setup. Obviously a good player, as he's gone on to did well in get into the Champions League final for Borussia Dortmund. So, I mean, it's sensible business. It's strengthening up a squad that needs strengthening up for a big European campaign this year. So, hats off to them. So, this is a big yay from me. Next one we've got Bournemouth is Enes Unal, the striker who's brought on loan from Bournemouth last year, has essentially been confirmed for 13 million. In his performances, he's scored a couple of goals, and that's the second half of the season. He's not set the world alight, in my opinion. I mean, I guess he knows the setup there. He knows the players, I'm assuming, but I want to be a bit more inspired, a bit more excited, and I think Bournemouth sort of, they're a team that do have a lot of backing, and I want them to be making more fun, more interesting moves. So it's a bit of this is a nay from me. Next, we've got Brentford, who've signed the striker Igor Thiago from Club Brugge. It's looking like a potential replacement for Ivan Toney, as that I believe his contract is running out at the end of this coming season. So Brentford ideally want to be selling him now or losing him on a free. So Brentford, usually a smart, well-run club. I reckon they will make the sale for Ivan Toney. It's just a question of where he'll end up going. This is sort of a young sort of striker, solid fee. Last season he got 34 games and scored 18 goals. So sort of pretty good. A goal, sort of more than a goal every other game. We've had sort of some players come through from the Belgian league. It can be very hit and miss, but sort of a young Brazilian. Brentford recently, their transfers haven't necessarily all hit, but I've got a good feeling about this one, so this is going to be a yay from me. Next, we've got Brighton. We've got Yankuba Minta for 33 million from Newcastle. He never made an actual appearance for Newcastle. He was on loan at Feyenoord last season. He's 20-year-old, tricky winger. He had scored 10 goals within sort of 27 games. So he's sort of young, exciting. He's someone that's spoken about very highly, but Newcastle ended up wanting to sell to balance their books or deal with the PSR issues. I think this could be a fun one. I've not seen enough of him yet. I don't watch enough of the Eredivisie. Your numbers when you play in the Eredivisie, when you're translating to the Premier League, have to be really like outstanding. Like there's sort of good, and then there's amazing. You need it to be in that amazing category for you to sort of think, yes, I'm gonna splash the cash on him. However, he's a youngster. Brighton usually get their business right, so I'm going to back them to get this one right, and I think this is a yay from me. Next up, we've got Chelsea. So they've signed Kiernan Dewsbury Hall for 30 million. That's their big marquee signing. Actually, following Maresca to Chelsea. It's another midfielder. It's the midfield of Chelsea. They seem to have bought several midfielders last year, and so I don't necessarily see the need to have brought him, but for such a sort of decent fee. I mean, he was good in the Championship in a good team. He wasn't outstanding by any stretch of the sort of imagination. He was just good, and a lot of good players around him. I personally don't necessarily. I'm trying to work out. Okay, is he going to start if they have their full strength 11, £30 million? And the honest truth is, I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. Unless you've got players moving on like Enzo Fernandez potentially after his various outbursts, should we say. I don't think this is a good signing. This is a nay from me. I'm not a fan of it. Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace have only made a couple of signings, sort of one for an undisclosed fee and this other signing for free of Daichi Kamada, of an experienced creative winger who's sort of been around sort of a few different European clubs now, was at Eintracht Frankfurt and did a very good job sort of helping them sort of win in Europe, or do very well in their European run a few seasons ago. So I've got his move to Lazio last season where his contract's run up and he's gone on a free. He sort of he's very consistent in his numbers, and I think consistency for a team like Crystal Palace is good. They obviously need to have a look around their wingers. Having lost Michael Elise, you're going to need players to sort of contribute sort of numbers wise to help in that. It's smart and it's sensible from Crystal Palace, and that's a yay from me. Everton, Iliman Ndiaye from Marseille, who obviously moved there having had his sort of great sort of big season at Sheffield United the season before, to which they got promoted. He's a player that had a consistent amount of game time at Marseille, making sort of 30 goals. Sorry, 30 games, sorry. He only had 3 goals to it, sort of an attacking player. I don't know whether some of these games potentially may have come off as sort of substitute appearances. It's an undisclosed fee, which makes me a bit sceptical, as it were. So I'm trying to look at the fee, sort of, is this worthwhile based on the fee? Can't find the fee out as of yet. It's a big name. People are excited because of what he's done in the Championship. But if he's not kicked on from his move to Marseille, and I don't actually think this is going to work. I think Everton are right to address going for attacking players, but I think you need guaranteed sort of, you can't be risking it on young players at Everton at this moment in time. They flirt a lot with relegation, arguably unfairly last year because of the points deductions. So I think this is a risky move. I'm not a big fan of it. It's going to be a nay from me. Fulham, I can quickly move on. They've yet to sign anyone sort of full time at the moment, so hopefully that will change soon. Ipswich was the big money signing of Amari Hutchinson for £18 million. This is a move that I like a lot. This is Ipswich's most expensive signing, having previously been Matteo Serini sort of quite a while ago. He's sort of someone who knows the squad, knows the players, knows the manager. He took a while to bed into the squad last year. Obviously became a mainstay towards the end of the season, contributed lots of goals, lots of assists. Numbers usually transfer sort of well from Championship to the Premier League. So this is a yay from me. There's not a question or worry about that. Similarly could be said for the next sort of player for Leicester, Abdou Fatawu, who moved for 17 million and was on loan at Leicester last year. Maybe not quite as big a numbers as Amari, but very influential, very useful, very good player for Leicester last year. The Ipswich and Leicester doing moves like this, they've learned from the Burnley sort of situation of last year, as it were, where they had several loan players to help them get up. They don't want to lose those players. Those players will help them get up. So you sign them. You don't want to have your squad going up or being weaker than it was in the previous year. It's a sensible decision. So it's a good signing from me. Liverpool have yet to confirm anyone as of yet, so we'll move on from that. Manchester City, the big money sign at the moment is Savinho, who was on loan from Girona. Well, was on loan at Girona last year. But his sort of move for 21.3 million. He's from Troyes, I believe, in France. He had 37 goals and 9 assists in what was a very strong season for Girona, doing sort of very well and almost competing with the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids for the title. Obviously, it faded away, and Real Madrid, unsurprisingly, ended up sort of winning it. About 37 games, having scored 9 goals. He's a young player who's broken into the Brazilian squad. Girona's links with Man City sort of make this sort of not too surprising of a move. It seems sensible enough. It's not splashing the cash. I want to sort of see City make a big marquee sort of signing, as I think the gap between them and the teams around them is closing, which might be admittedly a good thing from my point of view, as I want to see sort of a few different winners of the league. But sensible enough, yay from me. Next we have Man United, completed the signing of Lenny Euro over from France for £52 million. This is a centre-back who was linked with Liverpool and Real Madrid. He's supposed to be one of the young, outstanding centre-backs throughout Europe, so this was quite a coup for Man United to get this done. My only concern with this is because he's a young player, mistakes will happen, and I think under the microscope sort of at Man United, with all the various sort of pundits and all the scrutiny you get at Manchester United, I would be slightly worried for him and for his development. So I would still want to potentially see another centre-back signed, sort of like the links of Matthias de Ligt, I think would be very good, very interesting. But this shows, this is the start of a good decision sort of from Man United, as they weren't stuck to one player. They moved on to different other teams. So instead of fixating around a player like Branthwaite, for example, which they could have done, they're like, no, we're going to move for De Ligt. Okay, can't get him. Who are we going to go for instead? They're not dwelling on it, and that's what they think. The things that they have done in previous years is they've fixated on singular players, held out, and had to pay a fortune for them. Overall, I think this is sort of good signs. I think this is a yay from me overall. Next, we've got Newcastle, who turned their loan for Lewis Hall permanent for 28 million. He sort of adds a bit more sort of depth to the left back spot. He sort of managed to sort of get a decent number of minutes for Newcastle. I don't necessarily think he's got the left back slot nailed down just yet, but I think he's young, and I think a sort of a decent run of fitness, sort of English defender, 28 million. It's sensible enough as far as I'm concerned. I think this has got potential to be quite good, to be quite smart. So this is a yay from me. Nottingham Forest. This was a bit of an interesting one. We have Elliot Anderson for 35 million. So he was a youngster from Newcastle who had a sort of his breakthrough sort of season last year. Sort of got a decent number of minutes. It seems like quite a high fee. The sort of rumours around it being linked because of the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper, apologies, I can't say his name, so I'm not going to butcher it and try, going the other way for 20 plus sort of million. Some people arguing that this looks a bit like a PSR move to balance the books of one team and the other. I'm not sure for that fee. I don't think there's enough proven of him. I think this is a bold move, and I think he's a young player, and I'm slightly concerned that a young player for such money, this could damage him and this could hurt him, and I don't think it's a good move. And so this is a nay from me. Next we have Southampton, who turned the loan spell of Taylor Harwood-Bellis into a permanent move for 20 million. He's a young centre-back, he's English centre-back, he knows the team, he knows the squad. He sort of comes from having a lot of experience with teams like sort of Burnley, having had various loan spells there. Comes from the Manchester City Academy. I mean, everything as far as I'm concerned is good. It's sensible. It's smart from Southampton. They don't want to weaken their squad going up. Makes sense. Yay from me. Next we have Tottenham. Their big money sign at the moment is Archie Gray for 35 million. He's had his sort of big breakthrough season at Leeds, sort of youngster who sort of primarily supposed to play in midfield, got a lot of minutes at right back. He's sort of a Swiss Army knife of a player that he could sort of cover in various different positions. There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of excitement around him. For that amount of money as well, I would want to hope that he gets sort of a decent amount of minutes, as I've seen youngsters go to Spurs and fade away. So provided he can sort of get some good minutes, this should be a yay, but I'm skeptical whether he does get the minutes, so sort of let me know in the comments, what do you think this is? Do you think this is going to be a strong move? Do you think he's going to get the minutes? Let us know in the comments below. Right, next we have West Ham signing Max Kilman for 40 million. Premier League proven under the sort of manager, having sort of Lopetegui, obviously from their time at Wolves. So young, English, I think they're sort of that they could have been sort of tighter at the back. They look like they're sort of losing sort of players. This is smart, this is sensible. The 40 million is slightly down to English tax, as it were, on players. I ideally would have liked this to have been a little bit less, but it's the going rate now. So I think this is a yes from me. Wolves, sort of not too many exciting signings to get you off your seat at Wolves at the moment. Most expensive being Pedro Lima for 8.5 million. He is an 18-year-old right back, sort of Brazilian, or sort of Brazilian / Portuguese. He's a bit raw, sort of fun, exciting. He's been given a very high up shirt number. I don't know enough about him, but indications like that usually mean that they're not expecting him to get a large amount of minutes. He's potentially someone that's going to start off on the bench and try and break through into the team. Right back isn't a bad slot. I think he'd have to displace Matt Doherty at the moment, but I think this one may take time. We'll wait and see on this one, but I suppose there's not enough known about him. You need to have known quantities, particularly within the sort of teams within the middle of the Premier League, because those are the teams that are either sort of going to try and break the bank to try and get into that top 10, or if they make a risky signing or a dodgy signing or sort of a gamble, they could get sucked down into relegation fights. This is a risky move, and because of that, it's a nay from me. Cool, I've gone through every single confirmed transfer at the moment. Obviously a couple of teams missing out. I'd like to thank everyone that's liked and subscribed to my TikTok channel as well, sort of looking at sort of various different football content. I'll be looking to branch out into sort of a few different things, and I'm obviously sort of learning this as we go. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you all later. Bye.